guess we can move on from that. Go to another wide receiver here. Dallas Wilson. What a stud he was in the game. I mean, let me pull up his stats real quick. He had 10 catches for 195 yards, 13 targets, 36 yards after the catch, 2 touchdowns. I mean, there's a reason he was a 5-star for nearly the entire cycle. Yeah. I mean, speed, size, hands, he really has it all. I have a video here, 2 of my favorite plays from the game. I did leave at halftime because Florida games under Billy Napier tend to slow down and not much happen in the second half. Well, of course, the spring game, something happens. But I do have a couple clips I took myself while at the game. Here's one of them. Oh, Tramel Jones at QB makes a nice one-on-one throw to Dallas Wilson, top of the screen here. I mean, just wins the play against the DB. I mean, that's just the things you're going to get from a 5-star. I couldn't tell who the DB was. Let's see. Let's say number 16. Michael Carraway. Yep, number 16, Michael Carraway. Okay. Honestly, with how good Dallas Wilson was in this game and his 5-star status, this isn't horrible coverage either.
No.
That's just...
No, I mean, that's just good ball skills. He just went up and got it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's the superior talent winning the play and going up for it. I think we need to start having a discussion whether or not is Dallas Wilson the day 1 starter.
I mean, if he's getting this much uses in the spring game, like, it's hard to imagine he's not, right? I mean, we've kind of talked about how this receiving core really needs one of these freshmen. It doesn't need, but like would be really huge if one of these freshmen could step up and play a major role. I mean, seems like he's the guy seizing that opportunity. I mean, the main thing I'm curious, like what your perspective is on this, having been at the game, was it just very scripted to get Dallas Wilson that kind of performance, or was that organic in terms of like he was just making the plays? Like, that's what I'm trying to figure out.
Oh, hello? Yep, there we go. Okay. Grows up a little bit. I heard what you said. Was it scripted? Well, I mean, unfortunately, in the first half, he didn't really go off, and I left at halftime.
Okay.
So I couldn't really tell in the second half. But the first half, it didn't really look too scripted towards one player. I mean, he had that one play. Like, I'll get to it later on. Like, Ben Hanks was really covering him for a majority of the first half. I have some clips I'll show later. But it didn't look too scripted towards any individual players. Kind of just looked like the offense was going out there doing its thing. And I don't know how the second half particularly looked. I know one of them was like he got a touchdown going on a out route into the end zone, pretty deep one too, like 2 DBs nearby. So didn't look too scripted. I like another post route. So it's not like these were quick routes. These were longer developing routes that he got open on, got the touchdown and catch on. So I don't think those were too scripted. Rob, don't know if I can be happy that our defense was getting touched by a bunch of backup QBs. It's fair. I also don't know how active the defense necessarily was.
Yeah.
I mean, especially the defensive line. Caleb Banks didn't play in this game. Sapp, I don't think played too much. He did play a little bit, but I don't think he was going full force in this game. I mean, you can look at, we'll talk about it later, the offensive line that played really well. Some things you can just take and not take for granted, but you can watch Dallas Wilson. And those numbers, I mean, even if they were designed to get him those numbers, 195 yards is way more than 100. Like, that's double the yardage there that you would normally get if it's just force feeding the ball. Like, he's going against those receivers, our DBs, and making those plays.
And I'll also just add, like, keep in mind, like, this is a spring game, and if a spring game doesn't end with you being like excited about the stars on offense, then that's a failure of coaching in terms of how you operate the spring game. Like, they design these games for this kind of thing to happen, for a receiver to get 195 yards, for the quarterbacks to look good. Like, they're not trying to have the defense get a bunch of interceptions. Like, that's not what they want. So, like, I'm not saying that the defense is great. I'm just saying I really think that's something you can't derive from a spring game too heavily.
Yeah, it was a spring game. I mean, the defense is going to be legendary. I'm not worried about the defense. I wouldn't say I'm not worried about it.
Yeah.
But it's also like 5-star high-level receivers out there are making nice plays, including Dallas
Mm-hmm.
Wilson. We saw last year the freshman that everybody was talking about after the spring game, Jaden Ball. He went on to be our leading rusher and is someone that everybody's hyped about going into next season, had a pretty good spring game as well. So maybe there's something to these freshmen. Do you remember, did we not have a spring game Napier's first year? I don't think we did.
I feel like I vaguely remember it. I feel like I vaguely remember like a Jack Miller like outing in a spring game.
That does come to mind. I wonder how Trevor Etienne did in that game.
Yeah, I don't know.
But
I mean, just the fact that he's getting that kind of usage and targeting, though, to me speaks pretty highly of like how he's viewed by the coaching staff. Like, I'd be pretty surprised. Like, I mean, I was just kind of going in not expecting this true freshman receiver to like make a major impact in the SEC, but if he's going to get featured that heavily in a spring game, I don't see why he couldn't be that kind of impact player.
Yeah, Rob, RDDs did not look that good. Granted, they were all backups. Like Caleb Banks didn't play, who is unequivocally our best defensive tackle. But like, you do want to see the depth look better. But I mean, going back to Dallas. Oh, sorry, continue.
I was just on that point real quick. I also, a lot of times you don't see defensive lines go like full speed trying to get to the quarterback in spring games because they can't hit him anyway. And again, I think they're a lot of times coached to kind of let the play develop a little bit. Yeah.
Right here from Rob, Montrell was balling in the first spring game. I don't remember that, so I'm going to take your word for it.
Yeah.
Seems like there is going to be one player on offense every spring game that's new to the program that has a really good spring game and ends up playing pretty darn well later on. I also think the fact that last season we saw so many freshman wide receivers step up. You look at Jeremiah Smith, Ryan Williams, Nick Marsh at Michigan State. There's someone, Cam Coleman at Auburn. There's another freshman receiver that also played really well. I'm forgetting off the top of my head. But like you saw last year, a lot of freshman wide receivers be some of, if not the best wide receivers in college football. So seeing this from Dallas Wilson, I'm not going to say it's guaranteed to be one of those seasons, but I wouldn't be surprised if Dallas Wilson has a great season.
No, and I mean, I think my biggest takeaway from the clips I saw from yesterday is that he just physically looks like he belongs out there. He looks like an SEC receiver, which for a true freshman is pretty special. I mean, I know we saw Vernell Brown made a couple plays, Nashawn Montgomery made a couple plays. I'm not sure either of them just look like a complete SEC player right now in the way that Dallas Wilson does. I'm not saying they don't. I just think that was the main thing that stood out to me was like, oh my God, this guy looks like he's ready to go right now.
I think this is a question. I mean, Harrison Bailey, he was the one throwing to Dallas Wilson.
Yeah.
Is Harrison Bailey good enough to go for 29 of 43 for a 363 and 3 touchdowns? Yeah. Or was Dallas Wilson good enough to have Harrison Bailey throw for 363 yards? Which I don't mind having that question. It's better than having the question of, oh my God, is Harrison Bailey only good enough to throw for 100 yards? And okay, well, Dallas Wilson, it's just a spring game. Who cares what the stats are? At least we can have something beneficial to talk about.
I'm curious when we talk about the quarterbacks, like what your perspective is on, because I mean, it sounded from what we kind of heard coming out of spring, it sounded like maybe Aiden Warner was a little bit ahead of Harrison Bailey. Not a bad game for Aiden Warner statistically, but not quite as efficient and productive as Harrison Bailey. Like, did you get that impression from like just looking beyond the stats from watching it? Did you get the impression that Bailey is a little further along?
Well, here's the thing. Bailey had most of those yards in the second half.
Okay. So once again,
I'll say,
got it.
Harrison Bailey did have, so if I'm not mistaken, in the first drive, there were 2 drops by TJ Abrams from pretty nice passes from Bailey. Harrison Bailey also had like 3 or 4 passes batted down at the line of scrimmage. So I'm not sure if that's the offensive line or if that's on him. So I feel like he didn't really get a fair shot. And his one interception was the drop pass from TJ Abrams that led to a Hilton Stubbs pick. So I'll say the first half, like, obviously you control your own destiny, but sometimes things just don't go your own way.
Yeah.
And based on how the stats and how things went in the second half for Bailey, I'm going to say a lot of things just didn't go his way in that first half. But I will say Aiden Warner looked pretty good in that first half. In that first half. I mean, the team was up 28-3. And then the Orange team scored on the last play of the first half. So and there was an 80-yard touchdown run by the blue team, right? Yeah, blue team. That right away, that kind of just put the game to rest. Like the score at the end was like 38-33 or something like that, so it looked closer. I would assume they kind of just ran the clock out for the blue team because like there was a bit of a competition there. It's not so simple as, oh, just go out there and have fun. It did seem like there was a bit of a competition. The orange team did have a 3-0 lead to start the game because they won an overtime drill in practice. Luckily, they had that because 28-10 is a lot better than 28-7. I mean, or would have been like 28-0 at the time before the last play of the second half. But Warner, if you put Dallas Wilson on Warner's team, I don't think it's crazy to say Wilson still has elite stats.
Okay. Well, that's encouraging because, I think, based on what we saw from Aiden Warner, and maybe I don't think we necessarily heard the most glowing reports coming out of spring about those two guys. So, that's certainly encouraging just because you don't know. Obviously, I think we both kind of believe that Florida's success this year depends on Lagway being healthy. But at the same time, he's a guy who he takes some hits. He's not necessarily a run first quarterback, but he's going to do a little bit of scrambling and moving around with it. So he's going to take some hits. And like the fact that, hopefully Florida between the two of those guys has someone who's capable of playing serviceable football, at least in one game, if you need it.
Yeah, I'll say Aiden Warner looked more comfortable in the offense in this game, which I think can be expected compared to last year. When you throw him in against Georgia and Texas, he probably didn't expect to play at all that season outside of he played in the second game against McNeese? Maybe I can't remember who it was we played in that second game where he got on the final drive.
Stanford? Was it
That's
Stanford?
Right, Stanford.
Okay.
Stanford. So he didn't expect to play true SEC minutes.
Yeah.
So it's not really surprising to see him be more comfortable in the offense.